don't have that entire balance.
Hey guys, Ben Maddox here at Johnson RV. We are at the Portland Metro RV Show. We're super excited to be here. We've actually got one of our featured products, Grit, and I've got Dan here from Grit with us, and we're going to be talking about some of the things that really makes them unique, and maybe the client that is actually looking for a product like this and why it's important to them. So, Dan, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's step into the van and take a look.
So one of the things that I was talking with Dan about before we started our video here was what makes them really unique in terms of the sound quality. I've been in hundreds, if not thousands, of RVs over the last 12 years of being with Johnson RV, and the first thing I noticed when I stepped into a Grit was just how pin quiet everything was. And so Dan was walking me through some of the features that really make that possible. So Dan, if you want to tell us a little bit about the installation.
Yeah, absolutely. So really, all of the stuff that we've designed is science-based. You get a 4-layer system in the walls, and we've been gifted by Ford already. The walls are extra deep. They're about 5 inches deep in most areas of the van. And so we take advantage of that and fill it up with insulation layers. So the first one is a closed cell foam up against the paint of the van so that it minimizes the reverberation of sound down the big sheet metal panels. The second one is another layer of closed cell foam, but this one has Mylar on both sides to help minimize the radiation of heat and cold through that first layer. And then the last layer is a double layer of Thinsulate. So you've got about 4 inches of Thinsulate in there, which is really what gives you all of that noise control and dampening, and then also really good climate control as well.
Awesome. One of the things that makes us unique and different at Johnson RV is we really take the time to slow down, get to know our customers, and find out how they're going to be using a van or an RV for that matter, and then kind of marry them up with a product that's going to fit really well. So that's why we're talking about some of the features that are going to be important to you in terms of how you're going to use it. So one of the other things that Dan was kind of walking me through was the framing and what's attached to the framing and how they attach it. So if you could kind of walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to take a look at this, down here is the easiest place to see this, Ben. So when I open this cabinet, as you can see, this is all UV stabilized marine plastic, really hardy and durable. But inside here, backing it, is an aluminum framed cabinet, and all the structures in the van are like this. And then all of these bolts that go through the outside skin into this are into threaded holes. So we're not using tech screws, no pre-drilled drilling screws or any of that stuff. It's all bolts into threaded holes. So it's quiet and it's super sturdy, and that's why we don't get all the extra rattling.
And in theory, if one of these work their way out, it's really simple to just throw some Loctite on it and put a new one in, and you're good to go.
Exactly. The whole idea is it'll last 20 years. We want it to outlast the chassis.
Awesome. And speaking of chassis, that's one of the other things that we were discussing is really the decision for a manufacturer to build on one chassis over another. And obviously, Dan already talked about the amount of space that's allocated for insulation. You've got about 5 inches, which makes a big difference when you're looking at, say, a Mercedes chassis. Also, things like serviceability, where you can take it, the cost of ownership, all those things play into making a really good decision, because over the course of the time that you're going to own the RV, you want to factor in what it's going to cost you to own it. And so maybe tell us a little bit about why you guys have chosen to use the Transit as kind of your primary platform.
Yeah, I think it really goes back to being built Ford tough is one of the things that we've built on pretty much all the major chassis over the last 5 years, and moved through that process. And when Ford came out with the all-wheel drive Transit, honestly, I wasn't a Ford guy. I was converted after we started driving them, and really driving them in the ice and the snow. And one of the neat things that they've done is, in the drivetrain, most of the joints are actually U-joints. They come from a truck, and they've built it super robust. And we've got probably 110 of these chassis out on the road, and we just don't have customers having problems with them. They're just built so well, really. And so we take advantage of that, and we're also taking our Grit brand and that philosophy of really durability, reliability, and longevity, and putting it on that chassis that we know customers are having the same experience with.
Yeah, and I would say I'm probably a little partial because I own an F-150, so I know the Ford toughness of it. I love the EcoBoost powertrain. People who have it, they know how robust it is, how responsive it is, how reliable it is. It's really easy to find places to get it serviced, and it's really inexpensive compared to, say, a Mercedes diesel motor. Not that we might go down that road at some point in time, but do want to talk a little bit about the model we're in right now. So this is their S4, so it's a seat 4, sleep 4. They also do have a seat 2, sleep 2, which we have both of those here at the RV show. So hopefully you guys can make it out and be able to take a look at both of them. But maybe let's talk a little bit about the person who's looking for this versus the seat 2, sleep 2.
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing is really when you get in these vans is the space, right? So we opted for, there's a lot of vans on the market, great vans, but when you put the seat in here, it closes everything off, so it feels closed off. We opted for a seat that folds away.
Love it.
Still pull tested, FMVSS certified, and has car seat hooks and all of that. And that seat just flips down super easy.
We actually have other manufacturers that are actually baffled by this seat in here and how functional and convenient it is to get out of the way. They don't understand how it's pull tested. So it's pretty cool that you guys were able to get that figured out.
And my favorite part about it is if I'm surfing and I'm trying to get off a wetsuit, or I'm changing ski or snowboard boots, I have all of that space to use now. And then in this, specific to the S4, the seat 4, sleep 4, you've got your pop top here. You can see there's a collapsible ladder behind me, and you squeeze up into that.
And who's this pop top company that you guys are using?
Yeah, this is Super Pacific. It's their cloud cap, specifically designed for this van, for camper vans. We love working with them because they build a super high quality product, and they're a great product. Why not work with a company who's already killing it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then the second bed in here, I put this away so that we can create a little extra space. One of the other things that you'll notice in this bed that's very different, if you're looking for a Class B camper van, you'll notice when I put this bed down, there's no flares. One of the huge things we heard from our customers was, I don't want to have to climb over somebody to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. So we listened. It gave us a lot of other benefit, because when we got rid of the sleep pods on the side, whichever company they came from, and you stopped sleeping sideways, we were also able to add a bunch more insulation and create way better climate control for heat and cold.
While Dan's doing that, I will just add to the conversation. As we're talking to our clients and we're trying to figure out their wants, their needs, their financial parameters, we're having to assess the type of van that's going to fit that. And I think what we've noticed as the van market has evolved over the last decade or so is that generally the type of client that was looking at a product that would be like this, they were looking at custom builds. And for those of you who are out there that have done a custom build, or you're looking at a custom build, I think what's important to know is that the industry as a whole is starting to drift away from custom for a couple reasons. Number one, it's built very specific to your needs. So when you're done using it and you go to sell it, you got to find somebody who wants it built that way, which is very difficult. So you don't retain a lot of the value. So your residual value is very low. But you also can't deal in RVIA certification, meaning you can't go get an RV loan and make it more affordable. So it's a much smaller demographic of people who are looking for something like that, which again takes away from its residual value. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we jump through all the hoops, right? To make it safe and keep its value. What you'll see with this bed, and I don't know, I'm going to climb up in here and actually show you, but you've got underneath here, there's a sandwich panel that actually spans the gap. And so now when I lay down in here, this mattress is actually 6'6" and 67 inches wide. And now, as you can see, I don't have to climb over anybody to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, which, let's be honest, if you're an aging male, it's the real deal. That's the way it goes.
I'd say one of the
Ben,
most...
do you know about that?
Yeah, a little bit, not quite yet. So one of the most common requests that we get, especially in vans, is people say, I want to be able to sleep north to south for that reason, so that people don't have to crawl over somebody else. I don't know of any other vans that we carry that actually give you the opportunity to sleep north to south. They all have your flares. They all have some type of fold-up Murphy bed or electric bed that forces you to sleep east to west. So this is really the most functional bed of all the beds out there. And yes, maybe it takes a little bit longer to set it up, but once it's set up, you're dialed in.
Well, and I like to point this out because we get this question all the time. Throw a king size fitted sheet on this thing because it's that big. When you want to just get access to the storage underneath, pop this piece. Now you've got access to all of your galley, all your refrigerator. If you want to go to the next step and get to the storage area underneath, just flip up the first panel. And now you've got access to your whole gear garage, all of the extra storage underneath here.
Super functional.
Yeah, and you've got lighting front and back to get to all of that stuff, as well as where the shower pan is stowed here for the indoor shower.
Yeah, I would say, like most of our adventure style vans, it's built to haul gear, right? And I think practically, functionally, this does as good of a job, if not better, than everybody else out there. I love having a smaller portable fridge. I think a lot of people, they agree that they don't need a lot of space when it comes to a fridge. So it's unnecessary to take up all this cabinet space by putting a fridge in. With this, if you don't want it, you just take it out, take a cooler with you, but it's super practical, super functional.
Well, one of the things that we always look at as well with the fridge is this is like 1950s technology,
Yeah.
right? Again, going back to that philosophy of durability, reliability, you can go into a grocery store and walk around in the frozen section and they have open freezers everywhere because cold air doesn't come out. In this case, there's an extra added benefit is if you're off-roading, which is what we design our vans to do, all your stuff is going to shift. But now when you open your fridge, it's not going to fall out the front as well.
So to that point, I will say one of the other reasons I believe the clients are looking at a product like this is it's simple, right? So custom vans, a lot of times people say, well, I don't want all the stuff that's built in it, right? So you look at a lot of the built out vans and they're just full of stuff, right? Which makes it crowded. There's a lot of technology you got to deal with. This is a super simple, basic, customizable van. And that's what people love about a more basic build like this. So maybe you can speak to that a little bit and why you guys decided to do that.
Yeah, so we actually helped push the industry in the whole 51 volts, high powered, all of that stuff, bigger lithium footprint because you want to run that air conditioner off grid. I get it. We helped design the industry that way. But what we found is it's really complicated. And so people weren't having as good of a user experience at the end because it was kind of like getting thrown into a race car if you've never been a race car driver. And so what we did is by simplifying down to that 12 volts, it gave us the same functionality. The S4 doesn't have an AC, you can see here, but in the S2 it has an AC, Dometic RTX. It's a simple AC unit, but on high, you can run that thing for 5 to 6 hours. And on low, you can run that, on eco, you can run that thing for 15, 16 hours. So it really does make a difference. And the way that we solved that problem, Ben, which is, honestly, it was a little serendipitous. It was cool. We were trying to figure out how to do a north-south bed and bring the cost down for this market. And getting rid of the flares and adding 5 inches of insulation created an AC unit that was more affordable and smaller and required less lithium to run it. So it really is about efficiency and making your guys' experience better in the end game and reliable. So you get in it, you turn it on, you go get groceries, and it fades into the background of the adventure as opposed to being the adventure and repairs and complications and all that stuff.
Yeah, Dan was one of the pioneers in the industry as far as developing the lithium battery systems for RVs. And so I think a lot of people have misconceptions or misnomers about thinking about how much lithium battery power that they need or is required to run something like this. So if you look at a lot of other vans, you'll see these massive lithium battery systems that have anywhere from 12 to 16,000 running watts of energy. So maybe touch on that a little bit as to why you guys chose not to go that route.
Yeah, so in here, it's 4 kilowatts. It's small. So it's like a third as much as most of our other competitor vans. And it's because we didn't need to. Also, we get 2 alternators from the factory in the Ford chassis, and it will actually charge this in about an hour. So the next piece of that being, it charges just as fast. We're pulling less lithium out of the earth, less open pit mining, right? And yet we're achieving the same thing. Some of the sales guys have told us, they're putting some of these vans side by side on a lot on the asphalt. It's 85 degrees outside, and the van stays cool because of the insulation. So instead of going, I have to sleep side to side, I need the sleep pods, and now you're dumping heat out or cold out, we solve that problem with $400 or $500 of insulation instead of a $40,000 electrical system. And now we drop the cost of the van to make it more affordable. And really the whole end game of this is, are you having a great experience? The van should not be the experience. The van should be the launch pad.
Let's take a short walk over to our
Yeah.
Seat 2 Sleep 2, and we'll touch on some of the key things that people would be looking for in that product versus this product. And then maybe we'll touch on our heating system and hot water and how that
Okay,
works.
cool.
And why you guys chose the company that you did.
Yeah, absolutely.
So here's our Seat 2 Sleep 2. Just a little bit less money, and that's another thing too, just to touch on, is the pricing structure. So I think it's been proven over the last several years now in the van market that using a see-through pricing structure is going to be the best way to market and find clients, because it keeps local people local ultimately. And we love having local people. We've found that especially people in the Northwest, they're adventurers. They're out using their vans year round, and we love that because they're not confined to one season. They're going to be out there off grid, up at the mountain, out in the desert in Baja. I mean, they're doing everything. So we love the clients that we work with, and we think this type of product fits it really well. So let's talk a little bit about the heating system and cooling, for that matter, on this particular one, because we've got the AC and the hot water system.
Yeah, absolutely. So heating wise, all of our heater, I'm just going to put this bed away really quick so I can get up in this space and see back in here. So underneath the refrigerator, you've got a Timberline heater. It's a hydronic system. So it actually heats coolant, and then that coolant circulates, stays warm, and it will heat water and air and keeps the van super warm. In fact, one of our clients had their van up in Alberta. It was negative 21 degrees outside, and inside the van was 71 degrees, and they were wearing shorts and t-shirts. He called me from the van just to let me know, hey, we're in a blizzard, thank you. The van is amazing. So I think that's a testament to what Timberline is doing with their heating system, and then also the insulation climate control. The second thing, the AC unit. In this van with the S2, you've got a Dometic RTX 2000. And one of the things I love about this is, honestly, when we put it in, we didn't know if it was gonna work, because it was our first van we had put it in with no flares or no sleep pods in it. And what we found is the climate control was even better. So it was just, even though it's only about 7,000 BTU, because of all of that insulation, it actually cools the whole van down and keeps it really good. Plus, it's 12 volts. We're not having to run energy through an inverter. We're not scrubbing energy because we're losing 20% just to go through that inverter, and keeping the van nice and cool.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so and with that said, so going back real quick to the furnace system, so the Timberline system,
Yeah.
having been in a lot of different RVs with different furnaces, what I love about the Timberline system is it's super efficient and it's the quietest out there. So obviously the insulation factor helps, keeping it warm. The AC being a lower BTU with a smaller battery unit makes perfect sense. So you're not having to worry about draining your battery by running a 13,500 BTU system. Super smart. You guys have thought it out, really well. So touching on the S2 versus the S4, so you can see you've got a little different setup here, right? So you've got more of a bench style. But what I love about this is it's just bolted down. So if for some reason somebody says, hey, I got a little bit more gear and I need to make a little bit more room, just pop this guy right out, right?
Yeah.
Or they want to modify it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So what have you guys done to make that possible?
Yeah, so this is our sofa. Great for lounging. It's an excellent workstation. Where we see this actually is super usable if it's just two travelers or a family that has some kids, and now the kids have moved out of the house over time. The bolt pattern on this is the exact same as that fold-away bench in the S4. So in about an hour, we can pull the fold-away bench out, and we can put the sofa in, and now you've got a van that's perfect for traveling with 2 people.
Awesome.
The other thing that I like to point out to people is this. This is an aftermarket extra storage. It's made by Van Essential, great product. But if you look up inside here, the bolts, that is actually into an aluminum infrastructure that's behind the panels. Again, going back to efficiency, you are now bringing heat or cold into the van at the size of a 1/2-inch bolt head, as opposed to running L-track all the way down there that's secured to metal, which is secured to the outside of the van eventually, and all of that conduction of cold or heat through into the van. We're eliminating that by putting that metal infrastructure behind that stopgap, which is the wood and insulated panel.
Another really great feature, actually right behind my cameraman, is the amount of counter space. So this is maple wood, and if you look at all of your van, not even your van manufacturers out there, but you look at all your RV manufacturers across the board, you don't get prep space. It gets really tight because the amount of square footage you have in a, either 144-inch wheelbase or 156-inch wheelbase, you just have a limited amount of space to be able to prep. The amount of prep space you have here, or workspace, or you got your laptop out, whatever it is unparalleled to anything else we have out there. So tell us a little bit about the wood. Where
Yeah,
you guys get that from?
honestly, the van is very utilitarian. It's obvious to people, right? It serves a function, it's adventure ready. And so what we love about it is, one, maple butcher block is actually pretty light. So it's not carrying a bunch of moisture content, it's not heavy granite or some of the other stone type things like that. So it keeps the overall weight of the van down, and of course it adds some wood warmth nature that we love. The other thing that I'll point out along with that is this van, we leave like up to 2 times the payload capacity available for all of your gear.
That's amazing.
So that means a couple things. 1, you can bring more adventure stuff with you. 2, you can bring more people. 3, you're getting less wear and tear on the chassis. You're getting better fuel mileage because of that.
Gear, garage lights. You guys do your own window coverings here?
Yeah, all of the vans come with window coverings. The one window that doesn't have window coverings has them built in. So you've got screen and shades as well. And all of the windows, we're a Pacific Northwest company, and all the windows are awning style windows. So you can have everything in this van open in the ring. We just felt like that's how we wanted it, and it's just very, very usable that way. And
so,
then, sorry, go ahead.
Overall, no. So I think overall, we're talking about a very functional, utilitarian, but it's also simple. So for those of you who are out there and you're trying to figure out what's a good fit for the way you guys are going to use it, definitely come out to the RV show for sure. Definitely come out to our dealership if you can't make it out this weekend. But we've got Grit Van, we've got other vans here, but we'd love for you guys to come and check out Grit. Dan's going to be here all weekend. So thanks, Dan, for your time. Appreciate all the great information and product knowledge for our clients to help make an educated decision. But yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys soon.